The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from 47 different species. Some floated in gravity bubbles. Others stood on multiple legs. A few existed only as projections of light. But all of them watched the human delegation enter the chamber with the same expression. Curiosity mixed with something else. Something like unease. Captain Tejo walked at the front of the human group. He moved slowly, as all humans did in public. His steps were careful and measured. His hands stayed visible at his sides. When he smiled at passing delegates, he kept his lips pressed together, hiding his teeth. These were old habits now. Every human learned them before leaving Earth. Dr. Hannah walked beside him. She was the chief xenobiologist on the diplomatic vessel, Horizon's Edge. Her job was to help humans understand other species. But more importantly, her job was to help other species feel comfortable around humans. "The Velori ambassador is staring again," she whispered to Tejo. "Let him stare," Tejo replied quietly. "We have done nothing wrong." This was true. In nearly 100 years of galactic contact, humanity had done nothing wrong. They had joined the Galactic Union peacefully. They had shared their technology freely. They had never started a war. They had never threatened another species. They had been perfect neighbors. And yet, every species in the galaxy remained nervous around them. The reason was simple. Humans were predators. Not former predators. Not evolved beyond hunting predators. Real, biological, apex predators. Their eyes faced forward for tracking prey. Their bodies were built for long chases. Their teeth could tear flesh. Their ancestors had hunted every large animal on their planet to extinction. Most species in the galaxy came from prey animals. They had evolved to run, to hide, to live in herds. When they looked at humans, something deep in their biology screamed warnings. Danger, threat, hunter. Humans understood this fear. They had worked hard to overcome it. Ambassador Yong-Su met them at the council chamber entrance. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent 40 years helping humanity build trust with other species. "The council is discussing the Vreth situation," he told them. "It does not look good." Tejo frowned. "What are they proposing?" "Appeasement. They want to give the Vreth Dominion 3 border systems. They believe this will satisfy them." Dr. Hannah shook her head. "That will not work. The Vreth are conquerors. Giving them territory will only make them hungry for more." "I know," Yong-Su said. "But the Council is afraid. The Vreth have powerful weapons and many ships. No one wants to fight them." They entered the chamber and took their seats. The discussion was already heated. A representative from the Kali Collective was speaking. The Kali were small, 6-legged creatures covered in blue fur. They were one of the oldest species in the Union. "We must be reasonable," the Kali representative said. "The Vreth want only a small area of space. If we give them what they want, they will leave us alone." "And what about the species living in those systems?" Another delegate asked. "The Vreth will enslave them. A regrettable outcome. But better a few suffer than many die in war." Tejo listened in silence. He watched the other delegates nod in agreement. They were afraid. They wanted to believe that giving away a little would protect them from losing everything. He had seen this before. Human history was full of such moments. Appeasement never worked. It only delayed the inevitable while making the enemy stronger. The vote was called. Species after species voted in favor of giving territory to the Vreth. When the count reached humanity, Yong-Su stood. "Humanity abstains," he said simply. The chamber went quiet. Abstaining was rare. It was a statement of disagreement without direct opposition. "Does humanity wish to explain its position?" The council chairman asked. Yong-Su paused. He looked around the room at all the species who feared his kind. Then he spoke. We understand the Council's desire for peace. Humanity also desires peace. We have spent a century proving this. But we have also learned hard lessons from our own history. When predators smell weakness, they attack. When you feed a hunter, it returns for more. The Vreth will not stop at 3 systems. They will take and take until there is nothing left to give. We cannot support this decision. The chamber erupted in whispers. Some delegates looked offended. Others looked thoughtful. A few looked more scared than before. After the session ended, Teho stood alone near a viewing window. The stars stretched out before him. Somewhere out there, the Vreth Dominion was growing stronger while the council debated. Dr. Hannah joined him. You look troubled. I am thinking about Earth, he said. About our history. We worked so hard to become better, to control what we are. We locked away our weapons. We taught our children to be gentle. We convinced ourselves that we had evolved beyond violence. We have evolved, Hannah said. Look at what humanity has become. We are builders now, teachers, explorers. We are not warriors anymore. Teho was quiet for a long moment. My grandfather told me something when I was young. He said that the wolf does not become a sheep by wearing wool. It only hides its teeth. The teeth are still there. Hannah felt a chill run through her. You think we are still wolves? I think we chose to be sheep, and that choice has been good for us, good for the galaxy. But choices can be unmade. He turned to face her. The Vreth do not understand what humanity is. No one does. They see our smiles. They see our patience. They see our kindness. They think this is weakness. Isn't it strength? Isn't choosing peace harder than choosing war? Yes, but the galaxy does not understand the cost of that choice. They do not understand what we are holding back. Teho looked back at the stars. I hope they never have to learn. 3 weeks later, the Vreth Dominion attacked the human colony on New Bizon. 12,000 civilians died in a single night. The Vreth commander called it a disciplinary demonstration to teach humanity their place in the galaxy. The galaxy waited for humanity to cry, to beg, to negotiate. Instead, there was only silence. And in that silence, something ancient began to wake. Lieutenant Sora woke up in a medical bay she did not recognize. White lights burned above her. The smell of medicine filled her nose. Every part of her body hurt, but she was alive. She should not have been alive. The memories came back in pieces. The warning sirens. The red sky filled with Vreth warships. The sound of buildings falling. Children screaming. Fire everywhere. She had been helping evacuate a school when the ceiling collapsed on her. A doctor appeared beside her bed. He was human, with tired eyes and blood on his coat. Where am I? Sora asked. Her voice was rough. Rescue ship, Mercy. We pulled you from the rubble 18 hours ago. The colony. New Bizon. What happened to? The doctor's face told her everything before he spoke. Gone. The Vreth destroyed everything. They left no buildings standing. Survivors? A few thousand. We are still searching. He paused. Lieutenant, I am sorry. The death count is over 12,000. Sora closed her eyes. She had grown up on New Bizon. Her parents lived there. Her little brother. Her childhood friends. All gone. Killed because the Vreth wanted to send a message. The Vreth commander broadcast a statement, the doctor continued. He called it a disciplinary demonstration. He said humanity needed to learn respect. Something changed in Sora's chest. The sadness did not disappear, but something else grew beside it. Something cold and sharp. Something that felt like hunger. Far away, on Earth, the news arrived in the middle of the night. Admiral Day 1 was 73 years old. He had retired from the military 20 years ago. He spent his days gardening and reading old books. He had believed his fighting days were over. Then his communication screen lit up with an emergency call from the United Government. He watched the footage from New Bizen. He saw the Vreth ships descending like metal birds of prey. He saw the colony burning. He saw the bodies. When the Vreth commander appeared on screen, smiling and mocking humanity, Day 1 felt something stir inside him. Something he had buried long ago. By morning, he was on a transport to Geneva. The emergency session of Earth's United Government was unlike anything in human history. Every representative was present. The room was completely silent. No one spoke. No one needed to. The screens showed images from New Bizen, the destroyed homes, the empty playgrounds, the mass graves being dug by rescue workers. President Moon stood at the center. She was a small woman with silver hair, known for her calm voice and steady hands. But today her hands trembled. Today her voice carried something dark. The Vreth Dominion has made their position clear, she said. They believe humanity is weak. They believe we will cry and beg and negotiate. They believe we are prey. She paused and looked around the room. They are wrong. The Galactic Council had been watching. They expected the usual human response. Diplomatic protests. Demands for justice. Perhaps some tears and emotional speeches. Humans were known for their emotions, after all. Instead, they received a single message. It was broadcast on all channels, visible to every species in the galaxy. Captain Tae-ho stood before the camera. He was not smiling. His lips were slightly parted, showing the edges of his teeth. His eyes were focused and still, like a predator watching prey. To the Vreth Dominion, he began. You have attacked our people. You have killed our children. You have burned our homes. You called this a demonstration. You wanted to teach us our place. His voice was steady, but something dangerous moved beneath the surface. We have spent 100 years showing the galaxy what we chose to be. Peaceful, patient, kind. We hid our teeth. We walked slowly. We spoke softly. We did this because we wanted peace. Because we believed the galaxy deserved better than what we once were. Tae-ho stepped closer to the camera. You have made a mistake. You have reminded us of what we are. Not what we chose to be. What we are. Humanity did not reach the top of our food chain through kindness. We are hunters. We are killers. We are the descendants of creatures who chased their prey until it died from exhaustion. We are the children of those who painted their faces with blood and howled at the moon. The Galactic Council watched in frozen horror. They had never seen a human like this. The gentle diplomats they knew had vanished. Something else had taken their place. You wanted to teach us respect, Tae-ho continued. Instead, you have taught us that peace was a mistake. You have woken something that should have stayed asleep. We declare war on the Vreth Dominion. Not for territory. Not for resources. For retribution. We will not stop until every Vreth who participated in this attack faces justice. We will not negotiate. We will not forgive. We will not forget. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice dropped to something barely above a whisper. You have seen what humanity chose to be. Now you will see what we are. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species who had known humans for a century suddenly realized they had never truly known them at all. The gentle giants who smiled with closed lips and moved so carefully were gone. Something else was emerging. Something ancient. Something that had waited patiently for 100 years. Held back by chains of choice and civilization, the chains were breaking. On Earth. The old military archives were unsealed for the first time in generations. Young soldiers read about tactics their ancestors had used. Names that had been forgotten returned to memory. Strategies of pursuit. Methods of psychological destruction. The art of making enemies afraid. Hidden shipyards across human space activated. Ships that had been built in secret, just in case, powered up their engines. Weapons that humanity had sworn to never use again were loaded and armed. Admiral, Day One stood before a room of officers who had never seen real war. They looked at him with fear and uncertainty. "I know what you are feeling," he told them. "You were raised to be peaceful. You were taught that war is wrong. These are good lessons. But today, we face an enemy who understands only one language: violence. If we do not speak that language, they will destroy us." He activated a display showing the Vreth Dominion's territory. "We are going to war. Not the clean, distant war of politics and threats. Real war. The kind our ancestors knew. The kind we tried to forget. Today, we stop being sheep. Today, we remember that we are wolves." In the medical bay of the Mercy, Lieutenant Sora watched the broadcast. She watched Captain Teho's message. She felt the cold, hungry thing in her chest grow stronger. Her family was dead. Her home was ash. And now humanity was going to war. She contacted her commanding officer. "I am ready to return to duty." "Lieutenant, you are injured. You need rest." "I have rested enough." Her voice was flat and hard. "The Vreth took everything from me. Now I am going to take everything from them." The galaxy watched humanity transform. The smiles disappeared. The careful movements stopped. The soft voices became sharp and cold. Predator mode had been activated. And the Vreth had no idea what was coming. Vreth Warlord Keth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching reports from his intelligence officers. He was not worried. Why would he be? The humans had declared war, yes, but what could they do? They had spent a century being soft and weak. Their military was small. Their weapons were outdated. This war would be over in weeks. "Warlord," an officer called out. "We are detecting multiple ship signatures emerging from hyperspace." "How many?" The officer's face went pale. "Thousands, Warlord. We are detecting thousands of ships." Keth walked to the display screen. What he saw made his heart stop beating for a moment. Human ships were pouring out of hyperspace like water from a broken dam. Not the small diplomatic vessels the galaxy knew. These were warships. Massive, dark, and covered in weapons. They had been hiding in secret shipyards across human space. Waiting, building, preparing. For 100 years, humanity had been building a war fleet. Just in case. "This is impossible," Keth whispered. "They told us humans had no military." "It appears they lied, Warlord." The first battle lasted 6 hours. 3 Vreth battle groups, over 800 ships, were destroyed. Not defeated. Not captured. Destroyed. The humans took no prisoners. They did not accept surrender signals. They hunted down every escaping vessel and eliminated it. When the battle ended, Warlord Keth received a message from the human command. It was Admiral Day One. "This is the beginning," the old human said. His voice was calm and cold. "You killed 12,000 of our people. We will kill 12 million of yours. This is not a war, Vreth. This is a hunt. And you are the prey." On the ground, things were even worse. General Subin led the human ground forces. She was a woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and eyes like chips of ice. Before the attack on New Bizin, she had commanded a peacekeeping force. She had believed in diplomacy and understanding. Now she believed in nothing but victory. Her soldiers landed on Vreth-occupied worlds like falling meteors. They did not fight like the other species of the galaxy. They did not form neat lines or follow predictable patterns. They fought like pack hunters. They surrounded their enemies. They cut off escape routes. They attacked from multiple directions at once, and they never stopped. The Vreth soldiers learned quickly that humans did not get tired like other species. A human could chase you for hours, days. They would track your heat signature. They would follow your footprints. They would hunt you down no matter how far you ran. There was an old Earth creature called a wolf. It did not hunt by catching prey quickly. It followed its prey for miles, waiting for it to get tired, waiting for it to slow down. The wolf was patient. The wolf never gave up. The wolf always won. Human soldiers were wolves. Lieutenant Sora was one of the hunters. She had recovered from her injuries and joined a special pursuit unit. Their job was to track and eliminate Vreth commanders who tried to escape. Her first target was a Vreth captain who had participated in the attack on New Bizin. He fled when human forces arrived, running into the wilderness of an occupied planet. He thought he could hide. OR tracked him for 3 days. She did not eat. She barely slept. When her team suggested resting, she refused. The cold thing in her chest pushed her forward. The memory of her family burned like fuel. On the 3rd day, she found him hiding in a cave. He was exhausted. His legs had given out. He looked up at her with fear in his many eyes. "Please," he begged. "I surrender. I am your prisoner." Sora stood over him. Her face showed nothing. "Humans do not stop," she said quietly. "We never stop." She did not take him prisoner. The galaxy watched these events with growing horror. Dr. Hannah, who had once worked to make humans seem friendly, now had a different job. She was a psychological warfare consultant. "The Vreth are prey animals evolved into predators," she explained to her team. "They conquered other species through superior technology, not instinct. They have never faced a true hunter species before. They do not know how to handle fear. What do you suggest?" General Subin asked. Hannah smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "We make them afraid. Before every attack, we broadcast sounds from Earth. The howling of wolves, the roar of lions, the screams of ancient predators. We remind them what they are facing." The tactic worked beyond all expectations. Vreth soldiers began hearing the broadcasts and fleeing before humans even arrived. The sounds triggered something deep in their biology. Ancient memories of being hunted. Primal terror they could not control. On one planet, a Vreth garrison of 5,000 soldiers surrendered to a human force of 200. They had heard the wolf howls echoing across the mountains all night. By morning, they were too afraid to fight. Engineer Q worked in the Weapons Development Division. He was a quiet man who had spent his career building construction equipment and mining tools. Now he built something different. "We call it the Persistence Protocol," he explained to Admiral Day 1. "Automated hunter drones. Once they lock onto a target, they will follow it for years if necessary. They do not need fuel. They do not need rest. They will chase a Vreth ship across the entire galaxy until it is destroyed." Day 1 looked at the designs. "This is cruel." "Yes," Q agreed. "It is exactly what they deserve." The Persistence Protocol drones were deployed 3 weeks later. Vreth commanders who tried to flee found that escape was impossible. No matter how far they ran, the drones followed. Silent, patient, unstoppable. It was the human way of hunting, transformed into technology. Captain Teo visited the front lines once during this time. He walked through a captured Vreth base, looking at the destruction. Bodies lay everywhere. Walls were scorched. The air smelled like smoke and death. A young soldier approached him. "Captain, are we winning?" Tae Ho looked at the destruction around him. He thought about the peaceful humanity he had known. The smiles, the careful movements, the gentle words, all gone now, replaced by this. Yes, he said, we are winning. You do not sound happy. I am not. Tae-ho turned to face the soldier. We are doing what must be done. The Vreth gave us no choice. But do not mistake necessity for joy. What we are doing here is terrible. We are showing the galaxy the worst parts of ourselves. When this is over, we will have to live with what we have become. The soldier thought about this. Will we ever go back to being peaceful? Tae-ho did not answer for a long moment. I hope so. But the galaxy will never forget what they have seen. They will never look at us the same way again. We will always be the species that smiled and pretended to be gentle, then turned into monsters when pushed too far. He walked away, leaving the soldier alone with the bodies. Back on Earth, children grew up watching footage of the war. They saw human soldiers hunting Vreth through dark forests. They heard the wolf howls that announced every attack. They learned a truth that their parents had tried to hide. Humans were not sheep, pretending to be wolves. They were wolves who had chosen to be sheep. Now the wolves were free. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. It was not about the Vreth this time. It was about humanity. Representatives from 46 species gathered in the Great Hall. Many of them were shaking. Some could not even speak. The Kali representative, who had once argued for appeasing the Vreth, now sat in terrified silence. They destroyed 14 Vreth worlds in 30 days, someone said. 14 worlds. They are not taking prisoners. They are not accepting surrender. They are not negotiating. What happens when they finish with the Vreth? What happens if they remember old wrongs? My species signed an unfair trade agreement with humanity 70 years ago. Will they come for us next? Fear filled the chamber like poison gas. Ambassador Yong-Su watched from the human delegation area. His heart was heavy. He had spent his entire life building bridges between humanity and other species. Now those bridges were burning. He requested permission to address the council. I understand your fear, he began. What you have seen is frightening. The humanity you knew, the peaceful diplomats and gentle scientists, seems to have disappeared. You wonder if it was ever real. He paused, looking around at the frightened faces. It was real. Our choice to be peaceful was genuine. We truly wanted to leave our violent past behind. For 100 years, we succeeded. We controlled our nature. We became what we hoped to be. And what changed? A delegate asked. The Vreth killed our children. Yong-Su's voice hardened. They attacked civilians. They burned homes. They laughed and called it a demonstration. They reminded us of something we had tried to forget. We are dangerous. We are capable of terrible things. And when someone attacks our family, we do not forgive. Will you attack others? Will you come for us? We have no quarrel with any species in this council. We only hunt those who hunt us first. The Vreth started this war. We will end it. After that, we hope to return to peace. Hope? A Kali representative found his voice. You hope? That is not a promise. No, Yong-Su admitted. It is not. You have seen what we are capable of. You cannot unsee it. We cannot undo it. All I can offer is this. Humanity remembers who stood beside us and who stood against us. We also remember who did nothing when our people were killed. Choose your position carefully. The warning was clear. The council fell silent. Messages began flooding into human embassies across the galaxy. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted to send gifts. Trade agreements were rewritten in humanity's favor. Disputed territories were quietly handed over. No, One wanted to be on humanity's bad side. Admiral Day 1 pushed deeper into Vreth space with every passing week. His fleet had grown to over 50,000 ships. Human volunteers kept arriving, eager to join the hunt. He received a communication from Vreth warlord Keth. "This is unnecessary destruction," Keth said. His voice no longer carried arrogance. It carried desperation. "We can negotiate. We can pay compensation for New Bizen. We can return prisoners. Please, let us find peace." Day 1 stared at the screen. He thought about the footage from New Bizen, the burning buildings, the dead children, the Vreth commander smiling as he called it a demonstration. "You misunderstand our position," Day 1 said. "This is not a negotiation. This is not even a war. This is a hunt. When a wolf chases a deer, it does not stop because the deer is tired. It does not accept an apology. It catches the deer and tears out its throat. That is what is happening here. Please, you killed our children. You burned our homes. You called us weak and laughed. Now we are coming for you. Every ship, every soldier, every world. We will not stop until the Vreth Dominion is dust." Day 1 ended the communication. The final push began 3 days later. 50,000 human ships surrounded the Vreth homeworld. Billions of Vreth civilians looked up at the sky and saw death waiting above them. Lieutenant Sora stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the planet below. She had hunted across 15 worlds. She had tracked and eliminated dozens of Vreth officers. The cold thing in her chest had grown into something permanent, something that would never go away. "We have them trapped," she reported. "No ships can escape. The persistence protocol drones are surrounding every exit point." Admiral Day 1 nodded. "Begin the blockade." No attack came. Humanity did not bomb the homeworld into ash. That would have been quick, merciful even. Instead, they simply waited. The persistence protocol drones drifted through space like patient sharks. Any ship that tried to leave was hunted down. Supply routes were cut. Communication was blocked. The Vreth homeworld was completely isolated. How long? General Su Bin asked. "As long as necessary," Day 1 replied. "They will starve. They will suffer. They will watch their empire crumble while we do nothing but wait. This is what they deserve." Warlord Keth attempted to surrender. He broadcast a message on all channels, offering to step down to disarm his military, to pay any price humanity demanded. The human response was a single word: no. "We refuse your surrender," Admiral Day 1 broadcast. "There will be no quick end. There will be no mercy. You wanted to teach humanity about power. Now we are teaching you. Power is not about weapons or territory. Power is patience. Power is will. Power is the ability to destroy your enemy slowly and completely while they beg for death." The Vreth Empire began to collapse from the inside. Military officers fled. Governments fell. Civilian populations rioted against leaders who had brought this disaster upon them. Other species watched in horror. They had thought humanity was terrifying in battle. They were even more terrifying in patience. The humans could have ended this war in days with overwhelming force. Instead, they chose to make it last, to make the suffering long and complete. "This is cruelty," the Kali representative said in a council session. "This is beyond war. This is torture." "Yes," Ambassador Young-Su replied. "It is." The Vreth chose to attack those who could not defend themselves. They killed children to send a message. Now they are learning that messages can be sent in many ways. Humanity's message is simple: hurt us, and we will hurt you 1,000 times worse. Hurt our children, and we will make your entire species suffer. This is wrong. Perhaps, but it is effective. After this, no species will ever consider attacking a human world again. Our children will be safe. That is all that matters. Captain Tae-ho visited Earth during this time. He walked through the streets of Seoul, watching people go about their daily lives. Children played in parks. Families ate together in restaurants. Life continued, but something had changed. People smiled differently now. The old, careful, closed-lip smiles were gone. Humans showed their teeth when they smiled. They moved with more confidence. They spoke louder. The mask was off. The galaxy had seen what they were. And there was no point pretending any more. Dr. Kurhana found him sitting alone in a garden. "You look troubled," she said. "I am thinking about what comes next," Tae-ho replied. "The war will end soon. The Vreth will fall. But what then? We have become something terrible. Can we go back to what we were? Do you want to?" Tae-ho thought about it. "I do not know. The peaceful humanity we built was good. It was kind. But it was also vulnerable. We pretended we had no teeth, and someone tried to kill us because of it. Maybe the galaxy needed to see the truth." "Maybe they did," Hannah agreed. "But now we have to decide what to do with that truth. Do we stay as wolves? Or do we try to become sheep again?" "I think," Tae-ho said slowly, "we become something new. Not sheep pretending to be wolves. Not wolves hunting without control. Something in between. Peaceful when possible. Dangerous when necessary. Honest about what we are." Hannah nodded. "The galaxy will not forget." "No, they will not forget. And perhaps that is the point. Fear can be a form of peace. No one attacks the wolf's den. No one threatens the wolf's pups. The galaxy will give us space now. They will respect us. Not because we are kind, but because they are afraid." He looked up at the sky, toward the stars where his fleet was slowly crushing the Vreth Empire. "It is not the peace I dreamed of, but it is the peace we will have." The Vreth Dominion fell on a quiet Tuesday morning. There was no final battle, no last stand. The empire simply collapsed like a building with no foundation left. Warlord Keth was found dead in his palace, killed by his own officers who hoped surrendering his body would bring mercy. It did not. The remaining Vreth military scattered. Some fled to the edges of the galaxy. Others surrendered to anyone who would accept them. Humanity accepted. No surrenders. The Persistence Protocol drones continued their hunt for months after the war officially ended. Every Vreth officer who had participated in the attack on New Bizin was tracked down. Every ship that had been present was found and destroyed. The hunt did not stop until every target was eliminated. Admiral Day 1 returned to Earth a hero, but he did not feel like one. He was 74 years old now, and he looked even older. The weight of what he had done pressed on him like a mountain. "We won," his granddaughter told him at the celebration. "Why do you look so sad?" He looked at her young, innocent face. She had been born after the attack on New Bizin. She had never known a peaceful galaxy. All she knew was that humanity was powerful and feared. "We won," he agreed. "But winning is not always happy. Sometimes you lose parts of yourself in victory, parts that never come back." He retired for good after that. He went back to his garden and his books. But some nights he dreamed of burning worlds and screaming Vreth, and he woke up unsure if he was the hero or the monster. Lieutenant Sora struggled with peace. The cold thing in her chest never went away. It was quieter now, but it was still there. When she walked down peaceful streets, part of her kept looking for threats. When she saw alien species, part of her calculated attack angles. She tried returning to normal military service, but peacetime duties felt meaningless. She applied for a position training new soldiers instead, teaching them what she had learned. passing on the skills of the hunt to a new generation. Some people think we should forget, she told her students. They think we should go back to being gentle and soft. They are wrong. We should never forget what we are capable of. Peace is not the absence of power. Peace is the choice not to use power. We must always have the power. We must always be ready to use it. But we must also choose not to, unless forced. Her students listened carefully. They came from a generation that had watched humanity transform. They had seen the wolf emerge from beneath the sheep's wool. They understood something that previous generations had tried to hide. Humanity was dangerous. And that was okay. Dr. Hannah published her study 6 months after the war ended. She called it The Contained Beast, Human Psychological Adaptation in Galactic Society. It became required reading for every alien species trying to understand humanity. Her central argument was simple. Humans had not become peaceful through evolution. They had become peaceful through choice. Every human carried the potential for violence inside them. Every human was descended from hunters and warriors. The peaceful civilization they had built was an act of will, not nature. Other species evolved beyond violence, she wrote. Humanity contained violence. These are very different things. Evolution cannot be reversed. Choices can be unmade. This is what makes humans both wonderful and terrifying. They can be the kindest species in the galaxy. They can also be the cruelest. The difference is only a choice. The study was controversial, but no one could argue with its conclusions. The galaxy had seen proof. Captain Teho returned to diplomacy, but nothing was the same. When he entered council chambers now. Other species did not just look at him with curiosity and unease. They looked at him with fear. Real fear. The kind of fear that prey animals feel when they see a predator. He hated it. He also understood it. We cannot undo what we have done, he told Ambassador Yong-Su. We showed them the wolf. They will never see the sheep again. Is that so bad? Yong-Su asked. Perhaps the sheep was never real. The sheep was real. We built it. We lived it for a century. The kindness was genuine. The peace was genuine. We wanted those things truly. And now? Now we want them again. But we can no longer pretend they are all we are. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to grant humanity permanent seats on all major committees. It was not a reward. It was insurance. Every species wanted to stay close to humanity, to watch them, to make sure they never forgot who the galaxy's apex predators were. Trade agreements flowed toward human worlds. Border disputes resolved in humanity's favor. Debts were forgiven. Favors were offered. Fear had become a currency, and humanity was the richest species in the galaxy. Ambassador Yong-Su gave the final address to the Council 1 year after the war ended. Every species was present. Every screen across the galaxy carried his words. We came to the stars hoping to leave our nature behind, he began. We built a civilization on restraint, on choosing peace when war was easier, on hiding our teeth and walking softly. For 100 years we succeeded. We became what we wanted to be. He paused, looking around the silent chamber. Then the Vreth attacked us. They killed our children. They burned our homes. They reminded us of what we truly are. We did not want to remember. We had hoped to forget, but that choice was taken from us. What followed was terrible. We became the thing we had tried to leave behind. We hunted. We killed. We showed no mercy. Some say we became monsters. Perhaps they are right. His voice softened. But we had a reason. We fought for our families. We fought for our children. We fought because someone hurt us, and we could not let that stand. Is that monstrous? Or is it simply what every species would do if they could? We hope we never have to fight again. We hope this is the last war humanity ever wages. We want to return to peace, to kindness, to being the gentle species the galaxy knew. But we will not pretend anymore. We are not sheep. We never were. We are wolves who chose to be gentle. We made that choice freely, and we can make it again. But know this, the wolf is always there. It sleeps, but it does not die. If anyone threatens our pack again, it will wake. And the galaxy has seen what happens when it wakes. He stepped back from the podium. We hope we never have to choose. Again, the chamber was silent for a long time after he finished. 10 years passed. The galaxy slowly returned to normal. Trade resumed. Diplomacy continued. New treaties were signed. Old grudges were set aside. Life went on, but something had changed forever. A young alien child walked with her parent through a space station. They passed a group of humans sitting in a cafe. The humans were laughing and talking. They looked friendly. One of them waved at the child and smiled, showing his teeth. The parent pulled the child closer and walked faster. Why is everyone scared of humans? The child asked later. They seem nice. The parent thought for a long moment. How do you explain to a child that the nice people with the friendly smiles once destroyed an empire? How do you explain that the laughter and kindness are choices, not nature? How do you explain that behind every human smile is the capacity for terrible violence? Because, little one, the parent finally said, the humans taught the galaxy an old truth from their world. Never mistake kindness for weakness. The most dangerous creature is not the one that roars and shows its teeth. It is the one that smiles and waits and remembers. The child looked back at the laughing humans. Will they ever hurt us? Not if we are kind to them. Not if we give them no reason. They want peace. They truly do. But they are also patient. They remember everything. And if you give them a reason to hurt you, they will never stop hunting. The humans continued laughing, unaware of the conversation. They were happy, peaceful, gentle. But somewhere inside each of them, the wolf slept with one eye open, waiting, remembering, ready to wake if called. The galaxy understood now. And the galaxy would never, ever forget.